Hello everybody, welcome back to the studio. Today I'm going to talk about test shoots. I'm going to talk you through full behind the scenes on a 2-session shoot that we did last week, so stick around. Welcome back. So test shoots. What's a test shoot and why should you be doing them? I think as a creative photographer you need to be doing test shoots pretty much all the time. The only time I don't do test shoots is when I'm really busy working, but last couple of years I've had plenty of time for test shoots. I think most photographers have. So they're really important because what they do is they give you the time to hone your skills and to play with your lighting and to sort of like come up with new creative ideas. For me as a photographer, I've got to be doing creative stuff. I cannot just rely solely on the work to feed the soul. It just doesn't happen. So I need to be shooting all the time. I need to be improving my book all the time, my portfolio. And the way I do that is I just basically set up a test shoot. It could be a big thing, it could be a small scale thing. So I've done test shoots where I get a hairstylist in, I get a makeup artist in, clothes stylist, sometimes we get a location, job lot. Last week I did a very small session with Amelia, who's she's kind of like, well, she's my friend basically, but I've shot her throughout the summer this year and we've come up with some like really cool ideas. We've shot some really nice stuff. Originally this test shoot was going to be a very quick, small kind of tutorial video, online video really, for Patreon, but it quickly escalated into something. We knew it was going to be a little bit better. Amelia's styling was quite good. I got a few ideas that I wanted to use as well, and also Nanlite had sent me a couple of new pieces of kit. First of all, they sent me the FC-120B, which is a bicolour cob light. It's very small, very lightweight. So I was going to use this as part of the tutorial just to show what reflectors do. So it was going to be a basic setup, just a basic kind of softbox setup, one softbox, one reflector, and shooting white and black, and then also how you get a white background, because you don't just get a white background by photographing on white. You need to light it. So that was what the tutorial was going to be. We quickly moved on from that, but we did get some shots with the reflectors and just some basic kind of headshots with this. You can see it's got a very small 40cm gridded softbox on the front, and it's amazing. To be fair, the light from it's really nice. It's not as harsh as a beauty dish with a grid on it, but often that's too harsh, especially for sort of like photographing women or younger people. So this provides it's got really good contrast. It puts really good detail in the skin, but it's still soft. You'll see it. I'll show you some examples with that. As I said, this is bicolour, so I think it's 2700 up to 6500K, and it's so small and lightweight. You can do so much with it. I often have it mounted on the back wall just as a hair light, kind of like a rim light from shooting video or something like that, but really impressed with this light. I'd recommend anyone to get one. It's a nice piece of kit. I often moaned about the Nanlite stuff, or the continuous light, not so much Nanlite, but continuous light on location is very heavy to lug around. So I often moaned about it because it was really heavy, and I often used to take flash on location. Even sometimes I'd really want to shoot with continuous. So this kind of bridges that gap. It's tiny, it packs up into a small case, and I can take it anywhere. Could do with a couple really, I could do with 2 or 3 of these on a proper full shoot, but certainly for shooting video it's pretty perfect. So the other thing, that I've had this projector attachment for a while, and you'll see what we did with this. This projector attachment is so heavy, it's ridiculous, but I've got it on a heavy duty stand, but I really need to get it on a C stand because it is very heavy. So Nanlite sent me this I think 18 months ago, and I didn't use it simply because I wasn't in a studio and I couldn't carry it anyway. It's too heavy to carry with the kit. But you've got so much control over this. There's some little kind of gobo type things which you can put in. I think you get a set of 5 of those, and there are other kits that you can buy online. And then you can control the light with these kind of like little guillotine type things, which are amazing. So you can have like a perfect circle of light, which you can see was shot with Amelia, or you can do a thin strip or a square, again, which you can see on the test shoot that we did. And also you can focus this beam. I think that's 19 degrees and it comes right out, and you can lock that off. So that's amazing. So I did use that. I used that in conjunction with the other light that Nanlite sent me, which was the FS-300C. This is a full colour light, so you can actually, this isn't better than like using gels like we used to use on flash. This doesn't require a power pack like the Forzas do, so there's no power pack down here. This is the control panel. And again, this is actually quite light compared to, if you take into account what the Forzas would be with the power pack as well, very, very heavy. So this is quite light for a big light, for quite a powerful light. And we use this. So these were the two lights that we used on this test. Okay, so I'll talk you through the test as it's playing, as the behind the scenes is playing. But I wanted to do something a bit different. I wanted to get some colour involved. I wanted to get some shafts of light involved as well. We did a few things on this test shoot after we'd shot the kind of reflector type stuff. We needed a fully dark studio because what I wanted to experiment with was long exposures but painting with light. So just using a small torch such as that one and just painting with light. Again, you'll see the footage of that is quite grainy because I shot it on the Osmo and the studio was basically pitch black. It looks on there, it looks really grainy, but it also looks like there's light coming in through the windows. There isn't, it's just because it was so dark in here and it was slightly light outside. So we had to wait for that. So we had to go to the pub and have 2 pints. So we did all the simple stuff before the pub, and then after we had 2 pints, we did the painting with light, and Amelia rolled around on the floor quite a lot. So, but the shots were amazing. They were 5-second exposures, I think ISO 50 on the GFX. And I fired the shutter and just kind of painted with light. You'll see it in action on the BTS. But that's a cool little way of lighting a scene. You rely on a little bit of movement, but that's what we wanted. We wanted a bit of movement, not a lot. But because she'd had 2 pints, there was quite a lot of movement. But the images are lovely. Really liked those. We did a second session a couple of days later because the XH2 failed to focus when I was doing the footage for that. So we didn't get a great deal of footage from that. I used the Fresnel and the PavoTube as well. So I'll show you that you see these. I used the Fresnel as a main light, and then I just set the PavoTube up behind the reflector, a bit like I've done today, just as a fill-in really, not just to fill the shadows, but to colour the shadows. So you'll see that the shadows are blue. There's 2 examples. There's one with just the Fresnel, and the shadows are normal grey. You see another example where the shadows are blue, and that's where I've just filled that in with the PavoTubes, which they are brilliant for that. I use them all the time for that. So that was the second one, and then while we were shooting that second session, I came up with the idea of shooting some really small kind of pockets of light on the face. So we did that as well. So all in all, we were probably shooting for 2 hours over the 2 sessions, and we got loads of like really cool images, which just shows you what you can do on a test shoot. The thing is, if you're finding people, when I'm looking for test models or people to shoot, I'm either I'll do simple portraits. So if I find like a really cool kind of like old face, I'll just do that as a simple black and white portrait maybe. But if I come across people in the street who are like just dead quirky and stuff, I will ask them to come in and do something like that. So for me, it's important that the people that I get are quite open to the ideas. I mean, generally they'll look at my work, and if they've agreed to come in, then they know what they're in for. They're going to get some cool shots. But this shoot really was, a lot of it was down to Amelia. It was down to her styling, her movement and stuff like that. And then the kind of beauty shots we did with that was all down to the projector. Oh, and you'll see we did the round circle where she looks like she's in front of the moon. Again, that was using the projector and the PavoTube behind to put some colour onto the white backdrop. It was this backdrop here, which is actually white. So you'll see that. I'll talk you through everything while the BTSs are playing. But again, if you've got any questions, just pop them in the comments below or just email me. And then also don't forget, like and subscribe. It's important, okay? It's important. I've got a dog to feed, and a Craig to feed, and a camera habit, and a film habit. So there you go, test shoots. Okay, so welcome to this BTS. Just going to talk you through this behind the scenes. So this was just setting up really, getting the lights right, this was originally, like I said, this was originally for the, it was going to be a bit of a workshop kind of video thing, online workshop video thing, which I've done a few of, about sort of white lights, getting the white background and using those reflectors. Those reflectors are basically they're just insulation boards really from DIY shops. They come in that really black and white speckled thing. They used to be white and a little bit thicker, I think, back in the days of before we went to millimeters and stuff like that, before when we did inches. They're about 8 foot by 4 foot, 50 mil thick, and they come in that black and white speckled stuff, which is really annoying because you have to paint the white side. You always have to paint the black side, but you have to paint the white side as well now. And modern paint's terrible. I think on the newer one, the left one, I've done about 3 coats on that, and you can still see it. It's terrible. So get decent paint if you're going to do it. Pay for the best paint, and it's just 1 coat. So then Amelia got changed. Self-styled she is. She's really cool and easy to shoot. You can see she moves quite well. Again, I've got the two. I've got the Forza 300 and the Forza 500 on that backdrop. Those are set to, I think, around f5.6, and I'm shooting Amelia at the main light on Amelia is at f4.5, I think. So the rear lights, there's just slightly more light, and this is what you need for white. You need slightly more light on the background than what's falling onto Amelia's face. So it's generally 1/3 of a stop or half a stop. Because I've got quite a low ceiling, I think the ceiling's about 10 foot in my studio, and Amelia's got like really white hair. There is a little bit of bounce back, but you can see, I mean, it's fairly white. It's not perfect white. You can see it falling off towards the top. It does go a little bit darker. The best kind of lights for this, I've used the strip box type soft boxes. These aren't ideal, the big soft boxes that I'm using on those two Forzas. But they do the job. I mean, a strip box is better. I prefer a gridded soft box, to be honest. You don't get any spill, and you can kind of cross the beams and get that background nice and flat and even. But you have to meter that at the background. So this is where I'm turning the reflectors round just to get some more light on Amelia, really. You can see she never stops talking, and neither do I. So you can see that black speckle coming through. That's 3 coats of white. It's white silk emulsion on that. Thanks, Wix. It's very bizarre. You never notice that you've got such a gormless face when you're shooting. So I've pulled that small Nanlite. I'm shooting right. It's right above me now. This is one of the beauties of a small softbox like that for the main light, is that even on a boom, it's like there's no weight there at all, but it's easy just to sort of like manipulate and get in and around. You'll often see me like hugging a light stand and shooting with it directly above, especially with the gridded beauty dish. I've got a grid on this softbox as well, which is quite nice. Then we started playing with this mirror thing, this acrylic mirror. A lot of it, only a couple of shots worked. She looks quite funny on these because her eyes are pointing in different directions. And this is before she had a couple of beers. So we did eyes closed on this. You can see it's lovely and warm. The skin tones on it are brilliant. On that light, there's detail. It's not like a big softbox. You kind of, I think you forego a little bit of detail for the softness. But when you've got a smaller gridded softbox, I mean, obviously with a softbox, the closer it is, even if it's a small one, the closer it is, the softer it is. So you could use a 120 centimetre softbox above her that's further away, and you get a similar kind of light. So it's not always about how big the softbox is in terms of softness. That's quite soft. This is when we went on. This is after the pub. It's quite dark outside. I know it doesn't look it, but it's pitch black in the studio, as black as we could get it. So there's a little bit of light coming in through those windows, but I assure you it was very dark. You can see how noisy and grainy that image is. And that's because on the Osmo, it's got a small sensor. So this is when we were doing the painting with light with a little LED torch. So we pulled the white half-width Colorama down onto the onto the white background. That's just to give it a little bit more, a little bit of colour, pop of colour really. And also the fact that that's stationary, because the camera's on a tripod, so that yellow background's stationary, so any movement that Amelia does, you see it. So it's often why you see her toes are pinned sharp and then her body's moving. But it's quite a good little exercise to try this. I did, because this is an LED torch, the beam of light's really unique. You can see how big it is. So it might be better with a sort of like a mag light, even an older mag light that's got the old, I call it an analog bulb, not an LED, the old bulb style ones, because the light's different way it falls and you can focus that beam. So I've got a mag light at home. I'll probably try that again with a mag light. You can see she poses quite well as well. She got the brief. Vintage suit. She loves the vintage stuff, does Amelia. Also with this, I should have really turned those reflectors around onto the black side just to get more shadow, because that light is bouncing around in that little, it's almost like a little cove really. Probably be better painting the walls black, but it's rented, so I'm not. So like I said, these are 5-second exposures. The GFX is set to ISO 50, which is as low as it will go. I think we're shooting about F11. I'll double check that. Or F8, I think. Some shots I didn't move the torch as much, but the effects are similar. It's amazing how still she was on some as well. Even though it's 5 seconds, it's amazing how sharp some of the images were, even if they were out of focus or they just didn't work compositionally. But she does get into good positions. I don't have to direct Amelia too much. Generally, I'll direct people or just put them in a certain position. You can see there's a lot of movement on that shot up top, but her feet, her legs are quite sharp. The yellow comes out beautiful. The yellow and white. These are some black and white versions we did after, when she was on the floor. Dirty feet. Dirty feet annoy me on shoots. I need to retouch better, but I've seen it before on stuff. So this is the Fresnel on the 500B, the Forza. You can see it's basically a lens in front of your light. It's like a lighthouse kind of light lens. And you can see by zooming in and out, you can focus that beam. It's such a versatile light, and it's a really nice light, to be honest. Shied away from it for ages. I've had it for about a year. Shied away from it, but just started using it. And you can see the shadow. That's on a fairly narrow beam, I think, but you can see with the shadow how intense that light is. You have to be careful with, I think it wasn't a satin shirt, but it was quite silky. And also Amelia's hair, because it's white, it does bounce back, so you really have to make sure your exposure's spot on with the Fresnel. You don't want any hot spots on the bridge of the nose or the forehead or the cheekbones either. So be careful of that. She had been to the pub. She's slovenly. These are the things that you notice afterwards when you retouch it and you think, I wish I'd pulled that shirt tight. It was an awkward shirt, to be fair. It's quite long. That's the 80mm f1.7 on the GFX. That's a stunning lens. It's pin sharp. There you go. You can see that's just a Fresnel on its own. And she's half in and half out of the spotlight on the background as well. That's just one light. And then we set up just a single PavoTube on that left-hand side, which is set to, it's either blue or purple. You could change these. These are full colour, these PavoTubes. They're amazing. It is a really cool little thing just for putting colour into shadows and things like that. I have used it as main light. I've used 2 as main lights before, and it looks really nice. You get that kind of Martin Scholler kind of look. There you go. So all that's doing is, it's never going to overpower the main light. It's never going to overpower the Fresnel. It's just filling in the shadows. It's having zero effect on Amelia. It's just that shadow behind her right shoulder. It's just coloured it. It's just colourised that shadow really. And it's pushed a little bit of purple. You can see it bleeding up the background there. So it just adds a little bit of colour in. I think I desaturated these images a little bit. The pop on them was amazing. And then we started with the projector that's on the 300, the FS-300C. That's the full colour light, the new one. It's such an amazing piece of kit. It's like, as I said, it's really, really heavy, but once you get it out and use it and get used to it, it's just a stunning. If you want to control light, you need this. I've spoke to people before about creating shafts of light in images, and I think people sometimes think it's all down to barn doors or something like that. But even with a small gridded reflector and 2 sort of like flags really close to the model, you still don't get that intense, that sharp shadow line like you get with this projector attachment. But you can see here, this is where I'm focusing it, so you'll see that square on her eye just fall into a blur and then back into sharpness, and you can get this really, really sharp. All I said to Amelia was keep that eye in the light, and it's really difficult because it's wobbling as well because it's quite heavy. Could do with a better way of securing it, to be fair. I think a C-stand would do a lot better job. So it's an awkward thing, but it's really, really nice. And those blue sort of like levers, they're the guillotine things on the side. You can just push them in and out, and you can alter the angle of them slightly so you can get kind of like a rectangle or a rhomboid type look or a square. And then you pull them all 4 of them out, and it's a perfect circle, which is the last shot we did, the perfect circle shot, the moon shot as I call it. I shot 2 of these with her eyes like that, but they were both out of focus. Because I'm focusing really close as well on this. I'm very close to Amelia, the light's really close, so the depth of field is minimal. And because she's sort of swaying in and out, I think I just lost focus on those 2, so I didn't get a sharp image of this. I don't know why I only shot 2 on that, because I really liked it. Probably should have shot about 20. This was quite late on in the evening. This was the second session, so this was just something we came up with when we were refilming the Fresnel kind of thing. I'm glad we did it. We got some really nice shots, some cool shots on this one. You can see it wobbling. I've still got the 2 soft boxes, the 2 forces on the background, just making sure that background stays white. And then the black reflectors either side of it, they just ensure that there's shadows. You do see on the final images there's a bit of a bleed almost coming in over her shoulder. That's down to the ceiling being white. I mean, I could have controlled that, to be fair. I could have put, I've got another smaller reflectors that I can put on top of these 2 side reflectors. So I'm really encasing her in a black box almost. That was, like I said, that was after 2 pints. But it does bleed over the top of it. But we kind of liked it, to be honest, because you can see there's a tiny, tiny bit of detail. And the way her hair falls and just leads the eye to the little patch of light. I just think it looks beautiful. And obviously you can see the yellow shirt just a tiny bit just popping through on the images. They really are nice images. I've only used this twice now, this projector lens. But I'll be using it a lot more. It's really nice. I think they do a smaller one, Nanlite. I think there's a smaller version of this. There you can see the bleed. You can see how it comes over the top of her head, and there's a little bit of detail on the bridge of the nose, a little bit of a highlight. You can almost see the eyes. but just the mouth. So awkward to get it spot on. This is where you need an assistant that's just holding it and steadying it. But I was shooting about 1/25th of a second, so it's and then I keep knocking it. That's because I'm shooting so close to it. To get that small kind of shape. Again, you can see the light just bleeding over the hair. It just looks beautiful. The leather jacket as well shows the highlights. Perfect shot. I love that shot. And then that was the final one. That was just in the with the projector with all the guillotines pulled out and then focused on the back wall. And then a PavoTube again, just filling in the shadows. So that doesn't affect Amelia, it just affects the shadows. That's it. That's the test shoot section. So thanks for watching, everybody. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.